and all this heartache. See, you know what's harder than never having anything? Is having something and then losing it. But you know what's harder than having something and losing it? Is believing that it was God that gave it to you. And now you don't have it no more. And you still got to come and you still got to raise your hands and you still got to pretend like everything is great. And you're actually going through something worse than what you went through before you asked God to come into your heart. Have you ever been there? Has that ever happened to us before? One brother that was real close to me said, you know what, man, I'm going to tell you something. I got to tell you something, and this is as real as I can be with you. And I said, okay, cool. He said, maybe you could help me, bro. I said, okay. How come the moment I started giving, and me and my wife were in agreement about giving, I lost my job and we ain't got no money? How come? And then so I'm giving more, and the more I'm giving, the more my bills are saying they're going to be cut off. And the more I can't take my family where I wanted to take them to eat, to the movies like everyone else. Why is that? So at this point right now, Naomi cannot see the vision. Naomi can't feel. You know what? Naomi feels defeated. Point number 2. Today, we walk through, not around. We stand, not be crumbled, and not fall. Point number 2. If you're taking notes, we're going to write point number 2. Today, we walk through, not around. We stand, not crumble, and fall. Go to Ruth chapter 1, 16 through 17. See, Naomi came to this point where she had to make a decision. She was running from her problem. She told her daughter-in-laws to run. But then we come to this point. Ruth 1:16. And Ruth said,
Jesus, hallelujah.
And Ruth said, you know, that's one of the most, you hear one back, oh, hallelujah. And that's so distracted. He's talking to somebody about something. He's telling somebody to
pay attention.
I'm
telling somebody to pay attention.
Yeah, okay. So right here in Ruth chapter 1:16, Ruth is telling them that she's about to leave and it's time to leave. Don't follow after me. Naomi just got through telling them, their daughter-in-laws, what she did, 14, 15. And then Ruth says this, listen, don't tell me where I'm supposed to go. Don't tell me that I can't do something. And it says, this is the famous part, where you go, I'm going to go. Where you lodge, I'll lodge. Your people are my people. Your God is my God. Okay, what are we talking about? Look over here. Today we walk through it, not around it. We stand and not crumble and fall to it. What is it that we're talking about? When you get a vision, when God gives you something, all hell, I promise you, is going to break loose on you. Because the moment the devil knows you're doing, the devil don't care if you're not doing anything. He don't want you to do anything. He don't care if you go to church. He don't even care if you give a little bit of money, as long as you don't know what you're giving for, and as long as you're not going to church and getting something out of it. That's a ship. When a ship comes, they back the ship up, they open it up, and they put things inside of it. When you're sick and you're in the hospital, the first thing they want to do is give you a blood transfusion. When you're in need of fresh blood, new life. I went to the hospital and they pulled blood out, and these big old containers like this big. First they did 3, and then about an hour or 2 later they came and they took 3 more. And the lady came back, she says, we're going to take some blood, is there anything? I said, yeah, you can stop taking blood at this point, because I ain't got no more. You done took all the blood out of me. How much more blood do you need to tell me what I just told you is wrong with me? When you're sick, they got to take it to find out what's in the blood. And then to get you better, they got to put new blood back into you if you're in need of it. When you come to church, you're like a ship. You're like a body that has to be opened up and things have to get poured into you. And when things get poured into you, it's not just that's it and that's the end of it. That ship doesn't stay where it's at. When they inject blood into you, the blood doesn't just stay there. It begins to flow. It has to move. The ship has to go somewhere. And when the ship goes somewhere, we're going to get there in a minute. But where we are right now is the point where the ship leaves the bay or the harbor and it takes off. In Ruth 1:16, go to 17. Listen to what 17 says. And Ruth said this in 17. Where you die, I will die. And where they will bury you, the Lord do see to me. And more also, if aught but death part thee between you and me. So in other words, where you're going to die, I'm going to die. Where they bury you, God's going to see where they bury you, and I'm going to be buried there too. And if this is all we have is death between us, so be it. I'm going where you go. Don't ever bring it up. And Naomi couldn't see past the fact that somebody was standing in the midst of Naomi's problems with her. See, you think you're going through these things alone, but we're never alone. The Word of God says, He'll never leave you, nor will He forsake you.
That's right.
Look past what you see in the natural. In the natural, that's all the devil can do is sidetrack you. And he knows he can sidetrack you by showing you things that are not as though they are. Because that's how we're supposed to do it, right? Are you getting what I'm trying to tell you this morning? Naomi did not see a way out of her situation other than to run. And when she ran, she wanted to run all alone. Poor her. In Spanish they say, pobrecita ella. Poor her. Man, she done lost her husband. She lost her house. Then she moves, and where she's moved to, the famine followed her. Man, where's she going to go next? So she takes off. And while she's taking off, her daughter-in-law, two of them left, and one stayed with her, which was Ruth. The others left. So Ruth is with her, and Ruth is telling her, look, if you're going to die on this journey, I'm dying with you. You're not going to be alone. Verse number 19 says this. So the two women went on until they came to Bethlehem. Where they arrived in Bethlehem, the women, the whole town was stirred because of them. The woman said this about her. Can this be Naomi? 21, watch for 21, it says. This is Naomi speaking now. I went away full, but the Lord had brought me back empty. Poor her. God's trying to teach her a lesson. Didn't I just tell you guys, listen to me, that's not the kind of God I serve. Amen. If you want to serve a God that wants to take things from you, that's up to you. But that's not the God that it talks about. That's Jehovah Jireh.
That's right.
He's not the God that taketh from you. That's not what the verse is. Mm-hmm. And then listen to this. Why? She says, why are you going to call me Naomi? The Lord had afflicted me. Does anybody know what the word afflicted means? He tore her up from the floor up. The Almighty has brought misfortune upon me. Listen, I'm going to be the first to be honest and tell you that sometimes it seems like God is trying to teach me a lesson, trying to teach us something by making us go through things. And when we go through them, we fail. But that is not the kind of God we serve. We have to talk to these situations and these things. We don't need to talk about it. See, she walked into town with her daughter-in-law, feeling a little bit encouraged. And then all of a sudden, the people in her village where she came from said, oh, shoot, here she comes. And because when she came, death came with her. So she changed her name. We don't have it up here, but in the verses, she changed her name. She said, don't call me Naomi no more. God's not with me anymore. God was with Naomi because when I was Naomi, I had a husband and I had a place to live and I had children. Everything was going great and I had daughter-in-laws and grandbabies was on the way. See, when you become a parent, You want grandbabies. Nothing like grandbabies.
That's right.
This little baby sitting in the front, that's making all this noise, causing all this distraction. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
His grandparents see him.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. That's the greatest thing when you have your own children. And I was looking back at pictures of when Diddle was a baby. If you go to our YouTube channel, there's a picture on there for Senior Pastor and Sister Gloria, and it shows my sons when they were little, and my nephew, and my mom and dad are holding them. I mean, I got all emotional and everything.
Yeah.
There's nothing like having your own children,
Yeah.
but when you have your grandchildren,
Come on now.
my God, man, that is an amazing, I can only imagine the amazing feeling it is. You know, there's something that, man, my children, I did something right. You know, they got a baby right here, and you can just love on them. They say the greatest thing about grandchildren is when you're done getting all mushy with them, you can call and they can come pick them up.
That's right.
We'll see. 'Cause I've tried to call, but I have no one to call for my children, you know? My middle one moved at the house, and we're laying on the sofa. I'm on the sofa, sister, Monday, Tuesday evening. I'm just chilling on my sofa, watching TV with my wife, and it's all peaceful. And we don't have a key that you put in. We have the, you know, the code where you put it in and unlock the door. All I hear, you hear is, and then, grrr. Who's that? And here comes Johnny Ray walking. I'm like, dude, what are you doing walking in my house? He's like, well, it's my house too. I'm like, you got your own house. You got your own wife.
That's right. Get
Go
up.
home.
Go home.
So now when he comes, he knocks at the door, rings the doorbell. I'm like, God, I didn't really mean it like that. I was just kidding.
It's all right.
So Naomi says, don't call, she says, don't call me Naomi. She told them, call me Mar, because the Almighty has made my life bitter. Man, those of us that are married, well, we all have mothers in here. Man, ain't nothing like a bitter woman, right? God help us.
Watch out.
Ain't nothing like a mean woman, man, or a mad mama. I'm like, hey, baby, I ain't the kids. Why you getting mad at me? Oh, I didn't do it. I guess I did. Okay, let's go to our next point. Number 3. You open up and let God pour into you. Let him show you why he's going to pour into you. So at this point in the story, let's backtrack because we're almost done here. Let's backtrack. Number 1, her shortcomings, the things that caused her to not be victorious, the things that almost felt like defeat that sidetracked her. She had to learn how to walk through them, not around them. She had to learn how to stand up to her situations, not recumber or fall to them. Now we're talking about how we have to open up and let God pour into us and let him show us why he wants to pour into us. Have you ever asked, why me, God? What do I really have to offer?
Yeah.
What can I really do to help anybody? Like, I'm a liar. I'm a thief. I'm not stable. The only thing I'm consistent with is not being consistent. I make excuses all the time. I'm angry. I'm lazy. Go to our first point here on how we have to let God open up. Did you write it or no? It says verse 2, 1, and then verse 5. Let me go to Ruth real quick.
Verse 2.
Yeah.
All right,
Isn't it amazing how in the midst of doing this, that this is such a relevant story that happened so long ago about this woman Ruth, how she had literally went through something that we all go through, and while I was doing this, I thought, It just blew me away. That she went through so much. You have to let God pour into you. One day Ruth said to Naomi, let me go into the fields and gather corn. We're in chapter 2, Ruth chapter 2, verse 2. I am sure to find someone who will let me work. And okay, so they went through the city. Everybody talked about Naomi. Then they find some place to stay. And then they have the concern, what are they going to eat? How are they going to eat? How are they going to get fed? How are things going to try to become somewhat normal? So what does Ruth do? She says, you know what, I'm going to go get a job. Let me go out there and find some food for us. Let me figure this out. Just give me a minute. So then all of a sudden, let's talk about Ruth for a moment. All we know about Ruth is that Ruth was a daughter-in-law to a woman that lost everything. Have you ever heard that say, man, you got a black cloud over you? Have you ever heard that? That was Naomi. So if Naomi had a black cloud over her and Ruth was with her till death, that means the black cloud was over Ruth. So now they go into the village, and we're in verse 2, and she says, let me go to the fields and gather up some corn or something. Let me go to work. Just give me a minute. In other words, they was hungry. Verse number 5 says this, Boaz asked the man in charge, who is this young woman? So she was noticed. She was spotted out. Do you think he noticed her and said, ooh, look at that young thing right there. She didn't have no money. They had nothing to eat. They had just barely found some place to live. There's no way she had a white dress on. Her hair was all fixed up, and you know, Sister Mela has this thing, and she puts it in her hair, and it goes zzz, and it curls her hair and gives her these pretty little, like, princess-looking twirls. You know, and she's got this fan blowing on her in the morning when she's getting dressed, and I'm looking at her, I'm thinking, you know, she's about like this. Okay. Wow. She puts on that special perfume. I don't know what it is, but it just smells so good. So it's like flowers. You know, and the lights hit her, and she's sparkly, right? Do you think that's what Boaz seen? Do you think Boaz seen Ruth in the fields, and she picked her head up and her hair went all beautiful, and she had her makeup on just right, and she had her pearls on, and she had her brand new shoes that she just bought with the perfect heel that made her look perfect? Or do you think, here's the truth, do you think she was sweaty, she was dirty, she was hungry? So what Boaz seen that attracted him and caught his eye wasn't what he seen on the outside, but it's what he seen that was on the inside of her. Let me explain it. So verse 5, he asks who she is. I made a side note right here, and it says this. It says, God will work through you, not just in you. If you let him, don't hold back. Again, God will work through you, not just in you. If you let him, God will work through you. Say through me.
Through me.
See, it's one thing for God to work in you. That means you get saved. That means your life is changed. Your life is changed. You're saved. But if you allow God to work through you, that means it's going to come in you and it's going to go right out of you. Don't hold back. Some of you have, man, God has told you some things. God has shown you some things, but you're holding on to it. That's like some of you have been prophesied over before. Some of you have been told a word by God, and you're still holding on to that word. That word was for them. Stop living in the past. You need a fresh word from God. You need to write some stuff down for today, because today you need something. You don't need what you got 5, 10 years ago, do you? You're not the same person anymore. So Ruth does in verse 11. Go to verse 11. Let's go quick. I got to be super fast. Verse number 11 says this. Chapter 2, verse 11. Boaz answered, I have heard about everything that you have done, you and your mother-in-law, since your husband died. I know how you left your father and your mother and your own country, and how you came to live among these people, and you had never known of before. So she says, you know what, I'm sorry. He goes, if I ask who she is, he goes up to her. She's in the field. You know what she used to do? She used to, after hours, she would work all day. After hours, she would take whatever little bit was left of corn and grain, and she'd scoop it up, and that's what she'd go home, and her and Naomi would eat. So all this time, Naomi's at the house. Poor Naomi. Things seem like they're getting a little bit better. And then all of a sudden, here comes Boaz. And Boaz comes to Ruth and he says, Ruth, what are you doing? Oh, shoot, you know my name. Listen to what verse 10 says. Here's her. Ruth bowed down and threw her face down to the ground and said to Boaz, why should you be so concerned about me? Why should you be so kind to me, a foreigner? You don't even know me. Man, please. Because back then, you could get your hands cut off, get your tongue cut out for stealing, for lying. She had no business taking that food home. And he says, wait a minute, I know who you are. I heard about you and how you left all your people and followed your mother-in-law. After your husband had already died, you stayed with her. Instead of doing like everybody else and leaving her all by herself and going and trying to find you another husband. Instead, you're out here and you're working like a dog. We've heard about you. See, sometimes we know what God wants us to do, and we're willing to do it, and we even start doing it, and we think nobody can see us. When you're out there in the trenches, all sweaty, getting worked up, and getting all tired and confused and stressed out, and feeling like nobody notices, nobody cares, and look at all that you're doing and all that you're spending. And God, please, I'm just trying to help. All I want is some recognition. When all along, people can see you. And he says, we've seen you. We talked about you. We know who you are. Surely God is with you. Watch what 14 and 15 say. 14 says this. At mealtime, Boaz said to Ruth, come and have a piece of bread. Come sit with me, in other words. Let the workers stay where the workers are. You come over here with me. Verse